Hey, what is up nerds, geeks, and collectors alike? Today we are taking a look at the Transformers The Last Night Premiere Edition Voyager class Megatron, and this version of Megatron is really awesome. That's due to the fact that he has this medieval knight aesthetic, which is basically the premise of the entire movie, and Megatron really dressed up for the part right here, looking very awesome and gaining himself a sword as well as his iconic fusion cannon. But before we take a look at the figure, let's take a look at the packaging. Here we have the standard Transformers The Last Night Premiere Edition packaging with the artwork of Megatron and Transformers. That's about it for this side. Here we have an awesome image of Megatron right here. It states that he is a merciless tyrant. At the bottom here we have a Decepticon logo, which is his allegiance. And here we have at the back our obligatory CGI product shots, as well as a product shot of Hound, which Megatron comes with in this wave. He is a fellow Voyager class, and nothing much here. Here we have Transformers Voyager class and a continuation of the image from the front. And at the top, nothing, there it goes. At the top, nothing much here except for Cybertronian glyphs. Here we have at the bottom the legal mumbo jumbo as well as the UPC. And that's about it for the packaging. And let's move on to the figure itself. This version of Megatron is a very awesome design. I love the medieval knight aesthetic that this guy gives off, which is again the premise of the movie. He has this asymmetric design, and not to mention his iconic fusion cannon, and he got himself a sword as well. Now let's stand him up properly here in order to take a look at the figure itself in depth. Here we have Megatron from The Last Night, and I gotta say this is one of the most beautifully sculpted Megatron figures out there, especially here at the head. I love the mechanical details as well as asymmetrical chest. I love that he's not just a monotoned figure in gray plastic, and not to mention he has one of the best light piping gimmicks. It's not showing as much right here, but it does glow very beautifully thanks to that clear red plastic inside his head. And as you can see, there it is. And still, like I said, I like the fact that he is not just a monotoned figure. He is painted in this gunmetal gray with some silver and some added yellow. It really complements the sculpted details. And not to mention, here we have the Decepticon logo, which is placed nicely on his left breast, looking very awesome. You can see here, you get the vibe of the knight, the medieval knight aesthetic from this guy. And you gotta admit, this is one of the most unique Transformers and not to mention Megatron designs out there.
Stop the time! I'm gonna blow your head off, Megatron! Bubblehead!
And you gotta love the fusion cannon, which is sculpted and painted nicely right there, as you can see. It's very awesome. At the back here, nothing much, just some jet kibble, but I like what they did with the legs here. They tried to be discreet. There is one thing that you won't notice until someone else points it out for you. This figure is kind of hollow. As cool as he may look from the front, from the back, and even from the side, if you look at top, you can see that he is quite hollow. And since we already took a look at one of his weapons, his fusion cannon, let's take a look at his sword. Now this sword looks very menacing. Definitely a weapon that you can imagine Megatron picking up. This is sculpted very beautifully, and not to mention painted in this gunmetal gray. I really like this piece, looking very awesome. And not to mention, this thing fits Megatron as a character overall. And in order to install this, you can put it in both his arms right there. Just slot that in.
I know you, human.
What do you really want, Megatron?
What anyone wants, human. To go home.
Yeah, that'd be alright with me too.
Megatron, he's after something Voyager has.
And if you do not want Megatron to equip his weapon, he has some weapon storage right here. And what you have to do, there's just a tab on his sword and at the back, and there you have it. Cleanly tucked in. Not the best weapon storage, but you gotta admit, from the front it looks very clean. Again, not the best weapon storage, but you gotta admit it isn't one of the worst as well. And moving on to articulation, Megatron's head is on a ball joint. He can do an entire 360, but his ball joint is on his neck, so he can only look up and down that far, as you can see there. And as you can see here, his shoulders does have this piece that can move out if I can get my grip on it. There we go. Here, you can move this piece up in order for his arm to go out. You can do an entire 360 with no problem at all. He has this bicep swivel, as well as more than just a 90-degree bend. And he does not have any wrist articulation. This is more for the transformation, but if you want to count that, go ahead. That goes the same for the other arm, but the fusion cannon also has a, I wouldn't call it articulation, but that's more for the transformation. But if you want a cleaner look at the front, you can do that. You can just fold that and then tuck it in right there. But I prefer to have Megatron with his fusion cannon out. But since this is an articulation segment, Megatron does not incorporate any torso articulation, but his front skirts do move up, and his side skirts does have some articulation as well. That gives him the clearance to kick, move his feet back that far. That's about it, and that's as far as it goes, just making sure. And if you move this piece, he can do a decent split right there, as you can see. Let's get that down. Let's just fix this up. He also incorporates a thigh swivel right here. He has a 90-degree bend at the knee. He does not have a back and forth movement at the feet, but if you count this, that's more for the transformation. But you know the rules. If it's strategically placed into a joint, you can count that as an articulation, for me that is. And he can do a super pivot, but that's more for the transformation as well. And again, since it's strategically placed there, I'm gonna count it as an articulation. And that's about it for the range of motion of the Transformers The Last Night Premier Edition Voyager class Megatron. And moving on to size comparisons, let's get out the trusted ruler and measure Megatron. He is a little below 7 inches. And let's bring out Transformers The Last Night Premier Edition Voyager class Optimus Prime.
We were brothers once.
Optimus Prime also stands a little, just a little below 7 inches as well. And let's get out a fellow Decepticon, the Transformers The Last Night Premier Edition Deluxe Class Barricade.
Lord Megatron, get that out of my face. Report. Tell me you have found the talisman.
I saw it. A dying knight gave it to a human, but there was too much TRF firepower.
You let the talisman get away! We must have it. Without the talisman, we cannot find the staff.
I know who can lead us to it. The TRF.
And Barricade stands about 5 inches high. And Megatron again, a little below 7 inches. Same goes with Optimus Prime. And that's about it for the size comparisons. Now let's get this guy transformed.
up 2 CIA case officers, said he wants to negotiate.
With him? The hell does he want?
Certain alien associates of his released.
Scheduled contact is ID'd and cleared.
Confirmation hostages are clear.
The Department of Justice has okayed it so long as the U.S. military watches his every move.
And here we have Megatron in his Cybertronian jet mode, courtesy of the Prime of Life, which is Quintessa. From the previous movie, Megatron was Galvatron and was a man-made version of the Transformers, and it wasn't explained how he returned into Megatron, that is, which is, I wouldn't say weird, but it's a plot hole right there. But for the jet mode, I gotta admit it looks pretty cool, especially that this thing used to be a asymmetrical design of a robot. Now as you can see here, this thing is really cool. The only thing I wish that it incorporates is landing gears. But on top of that, this is a pretty cool design. And not to mention, Hasbro really pulled it off with this sleek and elegant design while retaining that menacing look. You can really see the mechanical details as well as the effort that went into the designing and engineering of this figure. And taking another size comparison in his alternate mode, Megatron is about 1.5 inches tall, and he is about, let's check his wingspan right here, position him nicely. He is about 9 inches. Let's fix this right here. Yes, he has a wingspan of 9 inches, that is correct. And let's see how long he becomes. And from the nose, he is also about 9 inches right here. Oops, right there. From tip to the tail, he is about 9 inches. Now let's bring back Optimus Prime here, Voyager class Optimus Prime. And as you can see here, Megatron should have been bigger, but then again, he is a Voyager class. We do have the Leader class for a more accurate scale, but as a Voyager class, in scaling these figures in robot mode, they are the same height, and it doesn't really surprise me that he quite compresses into his alt mode. And here we have Barricade from the same toy line. And as a deluxe class, if you want a more accurate scale, you can always get the Leader class, but this alone is very awesome. So what can I say about the figure? As a Megatron figure itself, it is painted, sculpted, and engineered satisfyingly. You can see the attention to detail that went into this figure, as well as the distribution of paint and the application, which is nice and pristine. And his overall engineering from this asymmetric design into a sleek and elegant jet, it is well executed. So if you are a fan of the Transformers The Last Knight or a overall fan of Megatron, I say you get this figure. Let alone from its unique design, its unique medieval knight design, I say you should get it. Even if you're just a overall Megatron fan. And even if you are not a fan of Transformers The Last Knight, you are doing yourself a favor by getting this Megatron figure simply because it is very cool and unique design-wise. And not to mention, he is a overall very good Megatron figure in his own accord. Of course, if you want a one that really scales with the entire toy line, I suggest you get the Leader class. And not to mention with its pretty good face gimmick. And that figure is also painted, sculpted, and engineered satisfyingly. So if you like this video, drop a like and subscribe for more content. It really helps me out. Till next time, see ya!